Welcome to another flip video lesson with Mr. Volkman. Today's flip video lesson will go over chapters 4.3 through 4.6, and we're going to be looking at problems and solutions to issues that early Mesopotamians would have faced. The first problem we're going to talk about is food shortages. Now, this occurred to people before they moved en masse to Mesopotamia. More specifically, in the land between the Tigris and Euphrates River. You see, a lot of people first had moved to the Zagros Mountains because they had mild weather, they had rain, which equaled really good farming. Now you couple that with resources such as stone and timber, and you can make really good shelters. So over the years, the population increased dramatically with these factors. So much so that around 5000 BC, there were so many people that there was no farmland, which meant no food, and people were hungry. That's a problem. Well, they came up with a solution. They figured, hey, why don't we move to the plains between the Tigris and Euphrates River? There's lots of land, and it's super flat. We can farm there. And it's so large and flat, like I mentioned, it can accommodate lots of people. Problem solved. You move to Sumer, which is where this area was, and you can have food. But this brought about a new problem. You see, in this new land, you didn't have a mild climate, and you really couldn't control your supply of water to your crops. You see, spring rain would melt the snow up in the Zagros Mountains, and floods would come and flood the land and water it. The problem was they weren't always sure when that would occur. So if you planted your crops too soon, well, your seeds would turn into crispy critters and you'd have no food. And your ground could potentially look like this. That's a problem. Solution: hey, let's create an irrigation network. So what people started to do was make these levees around the river, kind of like a high bank, and they'd poke holes in it. And by poking holes, it would let the water flood the ground and water the crops. They also then started to create these canals, which was like it's like just making streams and mud puddles. You're allowing water, a small amount of water, to leave the river so it can flood your crops. Or they would create reservoirs. They'd dig these big, deep pits and holes so they can pull water out using buckets. Problem solved. So we've solved the problem of not having enough food by moving to a new area where we can have more farmland. We've solved the problem of not having water by creating irrigation systems to draw water away from the rivers. But now we have a new problem. We have all these irrigation systems, but now we have to maintain them. We have to make sure they're working. Now, a lot of these irrigation systems stretched many miles and they went through many towns. That's a huge problem. That's a lot of area to cover to maintain. The other problem is that you had a lot of these irrigation systems that got clogged, as you can see in this picture. Now, they didn't have excavators back then, but you can see they're pulling silt and mud and dirt out of the river. And as you have more of that mud and silt, you have less and less water. So these canals are getting clogged, which isn't good. That's a problem. Solution: the villagers start working together. They take care of the canal system as one big group, even though they're separate villages. And as a result of this, cities start coming together, because isn't it easier to take care of something if you live close together as opposed to far away? The last problem are attacks. So now you have these villages that are working together become cities, and they start arguing and fighting over the water. Some villages are blocking the water right at the canal so the cities behind them don't get it, or the towns behind them don't get it. So again, the towns are becoming cities. Cities are starting to block water from each other, and they start fighting. You also have a lack of natural protection. It's flat. There's no mountains to build your cities by. There's no huge rivers to surround your cities, so you're open to attack. Solution: build walls using sun-baked clay. create huge city-states, so make your cities even bigger, and that's what occurred. You had these cities now that have become like little countries, and they do this to protect each other. And as you see here, you have the farms around the cities, so your work's right there. If you see the bad guys coming, you quickly run into your walled city, and you're safe. This concludes this flip video. Please make sure you go to Edmodo to look at your assignment for this evening, and I'll see you in class tomorrow.